Hi, folks. Welcome back to a Joomla chat with Tim Davis from Basic Joomla Tutorials. The last time I spoke to Tim, the last time myself and Tim spoke and Tim interviewed me was last year. So this is kind of a part two. So how are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing great, Alan. Thanks for doing this. It's nice that someone else is going to do all the editing and all the work on this.
And do all the questions and all the chatting. I just think
Yeah.
it's a good idea for us to get together and to talk about Joomla. I just feel that WordPress seems to get an awful lot of PR and marketing and the market share. And I just feel, having played around with WordPress a couple of years ago, I feel that Joomla has so much more to offer. Out of the box, the core code, there's a lot more there. And you can actually use Joomla out of the box without really any add-ins and develop a good website with Joomla. And that's what I like with Joomla. Plus, there's a lot more functionality and there's a lot more you can do with Joomla, as you know. So before we get into it, and for people who haven't seen the last interview, tell us about what you do. And because people will probably know, they've probably seen your face and they know you do the tutorials, but give us a bit of a rundown on your bio and what you do.
Yeah. Okay. So I have the Basic Joomla Tutorials YouTube channel. That's probably where people mostly recognize me from. I've been doing my business full time. It's coming up on 6 years at the end of October. So what's today, the 12th that we're recording this?
Yeah, it's 12 today. Yeah.
Yeah, in 2023. So yeah, 6 years. So I started out very much I was making just static HTML pages, and then or actually I was using Microsoft Front Page, then I switched to Dreamweaver, and then I discovered Mambo, which was what Joomla was before it forked. Excuse me. And so then so I've just been using Joomla all that time. Started out just making pages. I put some ads on them. I had a large newsletter. I was sending people to check out those pages, funny cat pictures, all kinds of stuff like that. But and then just slowly started building pages. Had an opportunity to build pages for the company of a friend of mine who one of the first internet providers here on Vancouver Island. So I was doing some web page stuff for their clients, and that sort of kind of grew. And I was pastoring a local church at the time, so it was just kind of a hobby and a side hustle. And then part of the money that I was living on, because it was a small church, so it wasn't they couldn't keep offering me raises, and even the raises they offered me, they sometimes couldn't pay. So anyways, I retired from that. My wife and I, mostly my wife, were working with refugees, helping churches sponsor refugees through Canada's refugee sponsorship program. And so the way that God is providing for food on the table is this business, and it had grown to the point where I went full time. And probably just in the last year, so the first 5 years, it took 5 years to get to the place where I was before, as far as income. But and now it sort of has changed over the years what I do. Right now, I'm finding I'm doing a lot of support, helping people with their sites, getting people hiring me to do some short-term things for them, get them unstuck from spots, but also some people that have contacted me to manage their sites long term. And also I'm doing support for a company in the UK, PHP web design. They have an extension, Migrate Me 4, which is a great tool for doing test migrations of Joomla 3 to Joomla 4. And I'm actually been doing the support for that company for the last year, and that's working out great. So that's what I'm doing.
Fantastic. Now, I know you're pretty modest, but I have to give you a compliment, as I did on the last interview you did, because for people who don't know, I'm sure people have seen you, because if anybody's into Joomla and they typed in Joomla help, they would have came across your tutorials. And I have to say, I have to compliment him on his tutorials, because he does a fantastic job. And I've used them on many occasions to get myself out of a pickle. When I had the problem with Joomla, I just my kind of default go-to would be Tim. He must have done it. I have to go over and see if Tim has done it. So a big thank you for all the videos that you've done. You've been doing a great job, and they've been a massive help.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you, and I'm glad that they're useful, and I appreciate that encouragement. Funny thing is, there's been more than once when I wanted to do something on a site and couldn't remember how to do it. So I've gone Googling looking for instructions, and one of my videos came up, and I watched my video again to learn it. So I was like, oh, I did a video on that. Oh, good. So
I've actually done that myself with my own videos, and purposely I've recorded it because I knew I'd forget. So I had to go back and just watch it again. So it's great doing that. So are you doing web design at the moment? Are you just doing supporting the Joomla websites? Because web design support is one thing, but actually designing a website from scratch and setting it up is a bit more of heavier work, you could say.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I had someone from my channel, Mary Nevius, regular in the channel. I had her build a site for a client of mine it'll be a couple of years ago now. And when I saw the site that she built, I realized, oh yeah, I am not a site designer. I would never have come up with that. So I'm trying, and sort of this is the next thing that I'm trying to master in my business, trying to build a team. And the weakness in building it is me, because there's just so much to running a business that government and payroll and stuff like that. So I'm trying. I have some people that are working on sites for me. I wish that I could do more. It's not even that I don't have more. It's just me learning to delegate and manage a team besides everything that I'm doing, keep the lights on here as well. So yeah, I do take on projects for design. What I really like is people that have Joomla 3 sites and a template that is not compatible with Joomla 4, but they really like the look of that template. We're recreating those templates in Template Creator CK. And that's kind of nice because those are nice in the sense that there's not really a lot of design work to be done. It's more just making the duplicate of that. But having said that, I do have an employee, Gunur, who is really great. He originally was a co-op student from Simon Fraser University through a government program, and he's really good at designing, putting things together. So he's been working on some projects for me, and like I said, I'm just trying to ramp that up. So yeah, if someone were to contact me and wanted a site design, then I could make that happen for them. The challenge for me, besides it being a new thing, is that and I guess it's a challenge a lot of people face in business when they're trying to build a team and delegate, is that it's so important to me that people get supported in the right way. And it's frustrating when you're dealing with a company or looking for support, and the go-to thing is they start out trying to figure out what you did wrong as opposed to what needs to be fixed. So there's times where I've contacted web hosts for working on people's projects, and I've told them specifically what the problem was and what I needed, and then their answer is, well, try emptying your browser cache. And I actually told them the setting on the server that I need help with, and it's like their way of helping is to say what they think help is telling you something that they know, whereas help is helping the person with what they need and getting in the best place. So as I try to build a team, the kind of communication and the quality of it and even the spirit of it, it's hard to let go of your baby. And so that's, yeah, so that I don't want, and I guess the other thing that I face is because my channel and the way that I do it and the way that it's well received, and I think it's not to insult you, it's more insulting myself. My channel is a safe place for dumb people.
No, I totally agree. Seriously,
yeah,
the dumber the better, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I don't mean that they're dumb in life, but one of the things that really hinders people, I think, from growing in learning Joomla or anything in life is that if you're afraid that asking a question or admitting that you don't know something is going if you're afraid that you're going to get berated for that or looked down on or whatever, no one wants to experience that. So a lot of people tend to just not ask because they don't want to end up in that spot, and then they don't get the help that they want. And so what I try to do on my channel, and I mean in life helping people, is just be honest. I mean, so if you've watched any of my live streams, I break stuff all the time. In fact, my live stream 2 weeks ago was such a train wreck that I unpublished it and redid it yesterday with help from someone. So yeah, so I attract a lot of people to that environment. And so what's really important to me is that if someone else is helping them in the name of my company or that, I want to make sure that they don't get suddenly surprised by not getting exactly why they were comfortable coming. And it's not that the people that I'm working on delegating to are terrible people or anything like that. It's more of a fear in my head. It's like, oh, I've got to make sure that they can follow. I got to make sure that this is a seamless experience from me contacting them to then me handing that off, and then of course I oversee what's going on. So it's a challenge.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge and obstacle is me. So
Yeah. Well, there's a
working on
couple
it.
of things you said there. Number one, you don't want to go down the road of micromanagement. And I know it's very hard to let go of your baby and let other people take responsibility for it, but that's part of running a business. You have to give them the responsibility and then see how they get on. And
Yeah.
you dish that out bit by bit. Having, obviously, we talked about this before. I have a corporate background. I'm a qualified IT trainer. So I've kind of went down that road. And regarding your tutorials, the way I view it is this: it's not about intelligence, it's about knowledge. And it's like that TV program Millionaire. You either know it or you don't know it. So it's not that's not an intelligence thing, it's a knowledge thing. Do you know this? No. Well, then there you go. This is the whole idea of break it
Yeah.
down and have a tutorial.
Yeah. Phone a friend.
Phone a friend, exactly. You phone Tim. Contact him for support. So one of the things that were what's just around the corner in a few days' time, hopefully, is the official launch of Joomla 5, which we did talk about this last year. And one of the things you said was, I can't believe we've just had the launch of Joomla 4. That was just recently released, and they're already talking about Joomla 5. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So with Joomla 5, so with myself, I have upgraded some of my sites to Joomla 4. And now with the fact that Joomla 5 is going to come out, I'm now hesitating to do any more updates to Joomla 4 because I want to kind of jump. There's one or two Joomla 3 sites which I'll jump into Joomla 5. But I've had my fair share of experience with Joomla 5, especially with my hosting company. So, and I did a couple of videos on my channel just to explain what was going on. So before I kind of touch base with that and give you my experience and see what you think, how have you been getting on with Joomla 5? Have you managed to, are you installing it on the local server, or does your host company actually support J5?
Yeah. Okay. So I have not really been doing anything with J5 until a couple of weeks ago. I saw, and I can't remember his name. I saw a fellow's video that was looking at it to see what was new. And whenever I see new people doing videos on Joomla, I'm always interested to watch them, see what they're doing. And all that he could notice was a change in some of the icons. And so I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. When we just last year when we talked about can't believe Joomla 5, they're talking about Joomla 5 already, and we just got Joomla 4 out. I think from a marketing perspective, and I still feel this, although I can, I'll definitely couch it in other things that I think. It's just creating it being so soon. has given opportunity for panic and rumor, and that I just because it was because from Joomla 3 to Joomla 4 is a migration. And so a lot of people have just assumed, oh no, now we're going to have to go through that all again. And they say, well, I'm going to wait till 5 is out until I migrate out. Why would I go through that suffering twice? And so from a marketing perspective or perception perspective, that's not being helpful. Having said that, I'm really excited about what's in Joomla 5 because I did try to look at it 2 weeks ago. I tried to update Joomla 4.3.3 site to the J5 release candidate 2, and I couldn't do it. I kept getting errors, and but it turned out that the error was mine because you can't update to 5 unless you're in Joomla 4.4. And 4.4 is still a release candidate. And so what I needed to go to 4.4 and then do that, which is what I did on my live stream this week. And it worked fine. So, and then, understanding what's in Joomla 5 and the role that it plays, then that, I am super excited about it. And I'm super excited to make videos about the transition too, because I think there's some simple facts and steps that people can understand, and then it's not a problem. Again, one of the things that I have to be careful about when change comes along is old man rage. Like, I just want everything to stay the same. And all day I'm fixing stuff. I'm fixing other people's stuff. I'm fixing my stuff. I'm adjusting this setting, or this site's not working, or why isn't that working? That's just the nature of a web page. And so when someone introduces something that you first perceive either as not necessary, or your plate is so full, the reaction can be you just want to rage at it and say, why are they doing this? This is so, oh, I don't need this. Why would they do this? Why can't they just leave things the same for a while? Yeah. So having said that, once I get over that feeling, I'm excited about what's in Joomla 5, and I understand the direction. I understand the step. And the other thing too is that when they mentioned that 5 was coming out, it was like everybody went to their closet and got their gun out and started chasing the people making that decision down the street. and once we got them all treed, they said, okay, Joomla 5 won't break anything in Joomla 4. And so if it works in Joomla 4, it'll work in Joomla 5. And I think that is true. So I hadn't looked much at it, but I have looked a bunch at it in the last couple of weeks. And so I'm feeling positive about it.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll just give you a brief overview of my experience with it, and people might learn from this. So, I downloaded the beta version of J5, and I wanted to have a look to see what it was like. And I have kind of, my ISP over here in Ireland uses Plesk. They don't use control panel. They don't use cPanel. So, my old hosting system, which runs J4, would not run J5. And I went, okay, so they were offering a new hosting service because they're going to be migrating and getting rid of the old hosting service anyway. So I said, right, I'm going to sign up for a month to the new hosting service just to see if I can run J5, because if it doesn't run J5, there's no point in me spending money on it and buying that hosting service. So I bought it for a month, and I set up a J5 site, went to, did the FTP, transferred all the files over, went to the URL, went to run it, and it just failed straight away. The red screen came up and it failed. But one of the things that the support team said with the Plesk is that normally with the old hosting service, they give you a temporary URL that you could use to access the site so you can do the install. Now, although the new Plesk system does offer that, the support team don't recommend using it. And get this is what they got me to do, which is so antiquated. they got me to actually go to my local host file on my PC and to type in the IP address and the domain name I want to use and put it in my local host file. Now, to me, we've just gone back 20 years, right? Seriously, I used to do that years ago when I was in IT, right? Using host files to do resolutions or to resolve an IP address, like a DNS, to the actual domain name. So in my local host file, I have the IP address and I have put joomla4demo.com. Now, I can't give you that URL because you don't have that in your host file, right? So if I wanted to, so my nose is itchy. If I wanted you to see my test site, you wouldn't be able to see it because I can't give you the URL unless, of course, I set up a proper domain name and pointed to that website, which I didn't want to do because I don't own joomla4demo.com, right?
Yeah.
So that's the bugbear. So that really annoyed me. That's going back 20 years. But then when I tried to find out what was going on with the install, because I wasn't installing, I was speaking to everybody I could speak to. I spoke to Phil at My Sites, all right, My Site Guru, and I spoke to one of the Joomla 5 development team as well, and a few other people chimed in and gave their feedback. And basically what was the end result by the look of things was the fact that the PHP version has to be a minimum of 1.8.23. Now, on the Plesk system,
8.1, yeah.
is that, sorry, 8.1.23. But on the Plesk system, it was 8.1.21 or 8.1.20, and it wouldn't work. So I said, right, okay. And of course, the support, the hosting company, were kind of saying, well, we don't think that's the problem. We think it's, it's a typical kind of thing, So I said, right. So I said, right, what I'll do is I'm going to set up my own WAMP server and I'm going to test it to see what happens. So I set up the WAMP server. I installed everything up to the latest, installed J5, and it worked straight away without a problem. So it kind of proved the point that running the 8.1.23 solved the problem. Now, my hosting company, when I told them that this seems to be the problem, you need to upgrade your PHP on your server, they said we are not supporting J5 until it's officially released, right? So they won't touch it. So on the 17th of October, which is the actual go live date apparently for J5, that's the date they have so far. I don't think they've changed it. I'll be emailing the hosting company and going, right, it's officially released now, and my J5 version is not running. What are you going to do about it? So that's my experience of running J5. So at the moment, all I can do is run J5 on a WAMP server I have here in my office, because the J5 version on the Plesk system won't run because the PHP. But it annoys me that we're using the host file to resolve the IP address rather than having a temporary URL. I mean, that's just so antiquated.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a pain point for a bunch of people, because the minimum requirements for Joomla 5 are that PHP 8.1.3 or whatever.
Yeah.
And MySQL 8.1, I think, or something. And so if hosts don't have that, then if hosts don't if hosts don't have that, it has to be installed or updated, and it depends on whether they're, like you asked what I'm doing for hosting. I have my own servers. I have servers with Liquid Web, and I have a server with a company here in Canada as well. So, and I, not the case with the one it's slightly restricted with my server in Canada, but the ones I have with Liquid Web, I can do whatever I want on them. And so I actually have everything from PHP 5.2 up to 8.2 installed. I've got a friend that's running some old program. He needs I think he needs 5.4 or something like that. So I run it for him. Yeah, so I'm able to just, I don't have that problem because I just get Liquid Web to do whatever I want them to do to help me with it if I don't know how to do it. And so I'm able to. So what's going to happen for some people, and unfortunately, everybody's got a budget and everybody has a mindset too. If you're using inexpensive bulk hosting, my experience is that those hosts don't want to, they aren't particularly helpful because their business model, and everyone's got a business model, right? Everyone slices the cake the way they want so they can eat it. Their business model is to make a little bit of money off of a lot of people, and then they offer general support, and they're just not set up to offer a ton of support for that same price, and they're not set up to offer extra support. Although it seems that GoDaddy is good at upselling people. My goodness, if you say I want to back up or do or restore a site or whatever, there's some hosts out there that, oh yeah, we restored your site. That's $100. I mean, it's like, okay, that's a bit crazy, but yeah. So I think there's going to be people that, and unfortunately, they're going to blame Joomla 5 because of that old man rage thing. It's like, oh, it doesn't work on my server, and why are they doing this? So Joomla's so dumb, and then they're going to say, oh, I guess I'll switch to WordPress. And that's but I think that's just the just the emotion speaking there for many people. I have in my proposals to people that because I have a monthly management package for Joomla sites for $99 a month, but I tell them that if I have to talk to their support for their web hosting, which they're paying for, that my time is billable. Just because if you're paying $5 a month for your hosting or even a bit more, and then that's including support, then well, that's for you to talk to them and for that interaction, because a lot of times they're really aren't helpful, and it just pains me to think, oh, now I have to train someone's level 1 tech support on what to do or ask them for things, and yeah, so hosting is going to be that's going to be a challenge for some people, and I would think it's hard to change hosts, and I see that in forums where people say, someone says, oh, my host doesn't support this, or they don't know what to do, and someone says, get a new host, right? Well, there's reasons that people are hosting with whom they're hosting that. Definitely if it's a business site, if it's business that you're making income, then you've got to spend money on good hosting. If it's a lot of people are trapped in nonprofits or club sites, and they can't go and say, hey, let's change our can we change our hosting to $20 a month and from $5 a month, or from this free hosting. And the people that are running the quilting club or the people that are running the car club are like, oh, we don't have the budget for that. And why don't we just, my sister's kid, he builds websites. Why don't we get him to do one? He says it should be pretty easy. And I would do that. Or why, I was even thinking about this morning. I had a member of the local chamber of commerce, and I was there's a woman who owns a little cafe, a little sandwich shop, and I was she needed to increase her business, so I was pitching her some ideas about what she could do, and some social media stuff, and with her website, and take advantage, just different things, and told her the price in that. There's another fellow who owned a restaurant that happened to come in, older guy, and I overheard him, that she was mentioning about, oh yeah, here's a talk about the webpage, and I overheard him say, this is GoDaddy, $5 a month, and it's all taken care of. And I was like, okay. So I just obviously she wasn't thinking in the place where she needed. Now his business, his restaurant closed, but it wasn't just because he had a GoDaddy site. It's probably partly to COVID too. But if it's really important what you're doing with your website, you have to have good hosting, and I think the benefits of Joomla 5 are going to be well worth being on a host that will run it. Your host should be offering 8.2 anyways. I
Well,
mean,
they offer 8.21, but it has to be apparently 8.8123 minimum to
yeah,
run
yeah,
J5.
minimum. But I think it would run on. I think it should run on 8.2. But
No, it didn't. It didn't run on unless
oh,
there's
okay.
something else. Unless there's something else going on. But I know on WAMP I've updated everything to the latest and it works straight away. So we'll find out on the 17th because that's when it's going to go live. But something that you mentioned there, which I think is important, it's not just the hosting; it's the support. So this chap coming in and saying, "GoDaddy, $5." I would have just said to the woman, "Yeah, wait till you have a problem." And then you'll want to give me a shout and I'll to help you fix it. You know, it's amazing how people think that the script kiddie down the road will only charge you 100 quid for the website. And you think, well, basically, what's his background? What, he knows a little bit of code. I mean, there's so much involved with not just the design, color coding, the content, the hosting, the support. There's so much involved with doing web design. And when I see people saying, oh, yeah, there's kid down the road will do it for you for 100 quid. Yeah, okay, right. You're putting your website is your window to your business, and you're farming out that to a kid down the road for 100 quid. Good luck with that one.
Well, and I saw someone share a post in the Facebook group. I think it was the Joomla Facebook group that's in the ad. They said, so it begins. And the ad was AI built websites for, I don't know, it was like $49 or something. So I commented, I said, that's great. I fix AI built websites.
That's very good.
And I think that's a good thing about business too, is that when, you know, when tough times come, you look around, when tough economic times come, you look around to the people that when everybody's selling, there's people that are buying. And I think that when changes come along, we can that are going to impact us, we can go, oh no, I'm going to lose. Whereas the real question is like, okay, it's changing. How can I benefit from this? How can I supply? How can my support change? Or how can my how can I capitalize on this? On what opportunities are coming? Opportunities are disappearing. What's the next thing that I can move to? And that's just how it is in our world now.
Yeah, it's like, the one thing that's consistent is change. And them companies that used to rent out videos didn't see the likes of Netflix coming down, and their business went out, they went out of business. So you have to watch what's happening. And this is why I am experimenting with AI, which I'm going to get to. Now, I have a few questions here to throw over to you regarding J5. Now, I know you haven't done too much, but you did a show last night, which is available on your YouTube channel, and you went through a lot of the features of J5. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a couple of things that I put down here, and I just want your thoughts on it, right? Now, I've been using Joomla since 1.5, so it goes back to a good few years. And things that I would like to see in the core are still not there. Unless it's changed in J5, but I haven't seen these in J4. One of the things was the meta tag generator. So, when you do the initial install of Joomla and you look at view source in your browser, and at the top, you'll see the meta tag generator. Joomla is a powerful, whatever, it has a stop line or statement, right? Now, I know you can download free extensions that you can put in there and you can change the wording on it. But I just thought, surely that should be just part of the core.
To be able to change what is said there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the ability to change it. I've not. Yeah. I mean, I've always just put in description and my tags and gone on my merry way. So, and is that like which which tag are you talking about? Is it description or is it the generator or?
Yeah, it's the generator. If you go into and you install a Joomla site and you do a view source, up the top of it, it'll say generator and it'll say something, a strap line about Joomla. And,
okay.
And ideally, you can go in and manually edit it, or you can do an extension. But I just thought, well, surely they should have that in the core just so you can change it. I mean, they could they could have the default there, what's there, but you should be able to go to the plugin in the core and then just change the wording on it, rather than, I know it's cosmetic more than anything else, but I just thought it's such a simple thing to do. They could have that in the core.
But for what would you change the generated by to? Because I mean, it would still be generated by Joomla. So at most you just want to remove that because you couldn't change it to something else.
Well, you could either have the option to remove it or have generated by basic Joomla tutorials and have a website address of your business.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I guess as far as I mean, the generator is really just showing what's the system that it's running. So, I mean, you could go into the core and change generated by WordPress, but that wouldn't be true. So it's fine. There's so many other tags that could be added, but yeah, I mean, and you could always use regular labs replacer and just remove that. But yeah, when you're talking about something that you'd like to see in the core, then
that would be good, the other thing as well, which I didn't see in J5, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but it's something that I think was in the original. I think it was in version 2. When you're working on the site and you have information in the articles and you're going in and out of the article and you're going on the front end of the website and you're checking the formatting and you're going back, right? So the click rate goes up all the time on the articles. But when you go live with the site, you want to set that to 0 so you can keep track of real numbers rather than you going in and out as well. Now, again, you can get a plugin or an add-in to go in and change that to set it to 0, but I don't think that's in the core either.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I was actually just helping someone with the site and it was crashing and turned out to be in the admin area, and it turned out to be the module that he had installed that would reset it. So there's hopefully there's an update for him to the latest version for that. The challenge that I understand about stuff getting added to the core is that the bigger the core gets, the more things need to be maintained. And so the stuff does get left so that if someone really wants it, third-party extensions can develop it and do it. Yeah. Or I don't know if I have a tutorial on how to reset those hit numbers anyways. But you can do it, manually. But as far as a core thing, yeah, there's no way to do that.
Yeah. It's just I know it's just, again, it's a cosmetic thing, but if you want to get kind of true numbers on clicks and stuff for people accessing pages, you don't want your 20 clicks in there, which you're going to have to minus. It makes it a bit more difficult if you want to monitor the click rate of articles and stuff. So just having that in the core it's just a simple thing to do, and it's not I don't think it's a major overhead really. It's just where the click rates show up. The plugin I have just puts a field in the article, and you just go down there and it'll say 3 clicks, and you just set it to 0 and you save it. I mean, can
you set it to a higher number?
Yeah, if you want, you can put in 500, whatever. Yeah, you could do that.
I'm not sure that the hits counter is the most accurate way to track traffic anyways, because I think it would go up if I don't think it's very smart. I think it would go up every time Google spiders your site or something like that. So some kind of analytics like Google Analytics, or one that I've never looked into is the one that the same guy, John Dagamore, that does JSiteMap Pro. He's got one for analytics. So I've never looked at it. I'm slowly covering his extensions on my channel because he lets me look at them for free, and it's a topic for a live stream. So, but that's probably as far as as accurate as the hits are. But yeah, definitely if you want to reset it and that's the number that you want, then yeah, it would be easier if there was something in the core. But
maybe I'm just OCD. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe.
Maybe. Now, we talked about AI earlier on, and something that I've done a video on my channel, and I'm not a programmer, and I go all glassy-eyed when I look at programming tutorials. I don't know what it is. I'd love to be able to program. I'd love to be able to program components and modules and plugins, but I don't know what it is for programming. I have this glassy-eyed effect. So for a bit of an experiment, I said, right, I wonder if I can use AI to program a module for Joomla 4, right? So I went into AI, Open Chat GPT. The website is openai.com. You sign up, it's for free. And basically, the video is on my website. But basically, what I did was I just said, I'm looking for a module for Joomla 4. I need HTML, XML, CSS, and PHP. And told it to go off and do that and give me the code for the module. You know, the module was Hello World. Simple. So
Yeah.
I had to run it, to cut the long story short, I had to run it about 4 times to get the right coding. Now, I got the right coding in the end, and I put it in, I zipped it up, did the install, and it worked. But I made sure there was a caveat on the video to say to people, because they might have got all excited and thought, oh, great, I don't have to learn the program. I'll get AI to do everything. Number one, don't put it on the live site because you have to test it, because there's no guarantee that the code is going to work. So make sure you have a test site. And number two, don't think you're going to go off to openai.com and start writing components and plugins and everything else. It's just more of an assistant to help you rather than something that will do the complete module. The Hello World module is not that complicated. So it probably was quite easy, although I had to do it 4 times. But if you're looking to do something more advanced in AI to do it, then I'd be very careful with that. But it was a starter. It was something I wanted to give a try because I'm not a programmer. I don't know whether you've looked at AI at all, or I mean, again, you said, you know, we talked about having to change as things change, and not only do you fix websites which are designed by AI, but are you looking at that side at all?
Yeah, I've used Chat GPT to come up with SQL commands to run when I'm in PHP MyAdmin. I'll say I need I'll type in I need an SQL command to delete all of the records that have .ru in the underscore email table of this da 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 da. And then then it spits out something, and sometimes it works. Sometimes I have to keep trying. I'll say, you know, that didn't work, and then I'll try this because there's different configurations, different versions of my PHP admin or PHP my admin, and so I've used it for that. I've just dabbled in it. Unique Gauthier from Weebler has a really cool AI extension. He's been on my channel to show it. It's awesome at translation. Yeah, so I've used AI for saying that I needed 160 character meta description for the page at, and you paste the URL and it gives me something. But I actually used it too on a project for an optometrist who was building a site for them, and this is actually, so I had my employee Gernur design the site, and so it worked out really well. But I wanted information from the bios for each of the staff there, and also for the optometrist. It was a friend of mine. So I asked Chat GPT to give me 20 questions to ask people who about what they do, or to ask people who work in an optometry clinic. So I got the 20 questions, and so I reviewed them all. You have to review everything because it could be wrong. I mean, it could have been a question in there like, have you ever had romantic feelings for your boss? I mean, that's just not something that you want to just pass along, right? So, but anyway, so I reviewed them. They look pretty good. I took out a couple. I thought, well, that's not really what I'm looking for. And then I said, hey, here's some questions. Would you have your staff answer these? Send them back to me. So they did send them back. So then I put the results in Chat GPT, and I said, here's statements that change these into a bio for someone for a website, and they did. And then I kind of looked at it, and that was a great basis for them to look at and review, and then they could make any changes that they wanted. because that's just too fiddly for me to do that stuff. I don't have someone definitely for the budget for that project as well. It wasn't that I had there was a budget to hire someone to actually do the content, and we're just trying to get the basic site going, and then something that we can build on. So I've used it for that. I also used it to I have an Hika shop shopping cart in Joomla. Every month, just one site every month, I had to figure out the total of actual sales from orders, and they don't have a reporting way to do that easily. So what I did was I just select all the data from the table that's on the screen, and I paste in the chat GPT, and I say total up the US dollar amounts. And so I thought that was pretty handy, but I thought I should kind of double check, and it was missing some. It could only handle so many lines. So then I had to figure out how to strip out just the numbers so I could paste it and do a quick add. I mean, otherwise I could have sat there, I suppose, and just added up all 50 with the calculator, and I would have done it in 3 tries after I lost my spot and start over and everything. So there's as far as programming goes, I played around. I asked for JavaScript that would show a clock, and it made one, and I embedded it on the site, and it worked. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. The danger is that you have to check it. So if I'm asking AI to do something that I don't know how to do, and they spit something out, and I think that it works, if it's missed some security thing or whatnot, then you'll find out when it fails. Right? So,
yeah. Well, my understanding is AI is not creating it. AI is just copying it, because it's going off and it's searching its database and saying, oh, this is what you're looking for. It's not actually sitting there thinking, I'm going to create this and then give it to you. That's my understanding.
Well, and it's predicting what comes next after a word based on that model. So on that site, on the contact form, when I was reviewing my employees' work, their Gunnar's work, on the contact form, it said, thank you for contacting us. We're looking forward to hearing from you, and we'll da 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 da. It was very long. So I said to him, I said, did you do that in Chat GPT? He says, yeah. And I said, okay, well, good on you. I said, it's a little too wordy though.
Yeah.
Like, so I wasn't bothered that he had used that, because I had used it too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, if you put in, give me text that you would put above a contact form on a website, then of course it's going to. But then you looked at it and thought, oh yeah, it just needs to be a little less wordy than that. And that was just a teaching opportunity. I got a call from a telemarketer this morning, and she was it was via LinkedIn. And she started asking, she says, was talking, she says, I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have, can I ask you a few questions? And I said, sure. And then she read, her voice was so clear and so concise. I thought, oh my goodness, is this a robot? Because like, I thought, obviously I had been prompted. Is it okay for me to ask you a question? I said yes. And it was just that she sounded so great and proper. So finally I interrupted her. I said, are you a robot? And she laughed. She says, no, I'm not a robot. So she was just really good at reading her script.
Very good.
But so that's So I've used it. I'm a light user of it. I'm going to, did you do that on Chat GPT 3 or 4? Which model?
Oh, it was 3.5. It was it was the free one. Yeah. 4.
So
you have to pay $20, I think, a month for if you sign up to that.
Yeah, and I want to sign up for 4, and I know, and $20 a month is not that much. There's also an API where you just pay as you use. I learned that. But right now, I just don't want to add. I've got so many other monthly things I have, and every now and then I add another one. I thought, okay, I'm waiting right now. When one of my clients really wants the AI wants that extension on their site, then I will go ahead and get it and do it. Because in my management package, I include my pro memberships for the people that are on that, which I'm allowed to do. So. I'll wait and see, but it's interesting, and it's here.
Funny you should talk about the whole monthly fees going out for signing up, because the next question comes to that. And it's got to do with development. Now, I don't think you've done any tutorials on this, but I'd love to see you do one. It's a component called Component Creator. And basically, for people who are not programmers, you can set up tables and you can build components with this. And I was looking at the website, and it looks very interesting in what you can do. Now, I have a few ideas in mind, so I sent them off an email and I said, well, look, I'm looking to do this. Can your product do this? The thing is that all these companies are gone to the perpetual licensing, and I'm an old-fashioned guy, and I like buying something and going, okay, it's paid for now, that's mine. But then what they're going to this perpetual licensing where, yeah, you can, for five or a month. I don't mind $5 or $10 a month. But when it goes over that, I think as you it starts saying, oh, there's a fiver here and a tenner here and a fiver here, and before you know it, you're spending £100 a month on software. And I'm not a fan of that. I come from the old-fashioned IT side where you buy the product and that's it. It's yours and you can do what you want with it. These days, it's all perpetual licensing, which means you never end up owning it because you just have to keep paying for it. And I
Mhm.
just don't like that model. I'm just old fashioned. But yeah, component creator, is that something that you have looked at or you might consider?
No, I've not looked at it just because I've got so much on the go as far as the section of my brain. There's a line up down the hall outside of the door in my brain that says new things to learn. And so while I have I just know that it would really bog me down. Uh, yeah, it would just use up too many mental resources for me to try to do that. It sounds like fun. I would like to do it, but it would be such a distraction from making the money every month that I need to make
Yeah.
to. Like I said to people, I am addicted to eating. Sometimes I have to do it 3 times a day. So and I remember that too about developers, that they all have, I ask, when I talk to extension developers, I say, are you making a living off of your extensions? And there's not many Joomla developers that are making a living off their extensions. I think we can probably think of some that are, but some of the ones that aren't, it'd be surprising that they aren't. So, and it's a part of that thought too of, I mean, I'm with you. When they first came out with software as a service, the SaaS, and so you could buy Microsoft Office for $365 or $400. You come home from the store with the box, with the DVDs, you install them, you have the latest version, you have your license key, you own it. That's great. And then it comes out like, oh yeah, you can pay X number of dollars a month for this, and you'll always have the latest version. I'm thinking like, that's crazy. I'm going to be spending, if it's say it's $30 a month, I'm going to be spending $360 a year, and I just paid $400 for this, and I can make it last for 5 years before I have to bite the bullet and update. But I have converted over to just doing the latest monthly things and having the latest, and I like that. And I mean, I spend, if you include hosting, so the servers that I have, I am probably spending oh my goodness, just trying to think of well, maybe not, even if you don't include the hosting, I'm spending thousands of dollars, probably $3,000 or $4,000 a year on software.
Yeah.
Because I want to have legitimate, registered, and okay software, and especially with extensions. I sometimes I get an extension for free. Sometimes I get an extension for a thank you for the live stream, and other times I don't. For instance, in the case of Template Creator CK and Page Builder CK, I did ask Cedric. I said, "Hey, would you be interested in giving me a free license for a year, and I'll be making videos about your stuff?" And that was good. But when that year was up recently, I just paid and renewed it because I'm making money off of it,
Yeah.
and he deserves to make money off of it, and and so that's good. And the more that we get to know these people as people, then it's good to be able to help them put food on the table as well,
Yeah.
if you're able to. So
The frustrating part for me is I have a lot of ideas for, I feel, extensions that would uh, sell, and it would appeal to a big market. And I'm happy to, if anybody developers watching this video, if you want to email me, talking is free. I'm happy to sit down and not just give them the idea and sit back. I'm happy to get involved, of actually get involved. My background being in IT and corporate IT, I have done projects where I've been involved, not with the programming, but actually putting the whole construct together of developing a system. So I have a background in that. So I'm more than happy to get my hands dirty and get involved. I just don't know how to program, but I have a few ideas. And of course, sitting down and talking to somebody about it, and I could give them the benefits of why I feel it'd be a big seller, or be something that would be of interest to a lot of people. So that's just something that I'd be interested in doing. If anybody who's a developer and there's anybody interested, contact me. The other thing that I have on a list here, and it was just something that came to me today, and somewhere, I don't know whether we said it in the last interview or it was something that I came across, but do you remember something or somebody talking about or a mention of a mobile version of Joomla?
yes, like a mobile app.
Yeah, like an app version of Joomla.
So there's I know that with Joomla 4, so obviously with Joomla 5, with the API, you can create an app that accesses the database of Joomla. You don't even need to load Joomla. So, and there's someone was on mentioned in chat in my channel about 3 or 4 weeks ago that he had something that would do this, that everybody would be able to have an app. So I said, yeah, I'd love to have you on the channel. Come on and show it. He says, well, it's not ready yet, so I'm waiting to hear back from him. So that is there. It's funny because earlier when we were talking about your last question, if I had to learn something new, it would not be how to make Joomla extensions. It would be how to make apps that access Joomla. I think it's the API. Because then you would be able to that would be something that you could sell, a service that you could sell, and that would probably be very much in demand to be able to do that. So I think that, and I've thought that for a while, that if someone said, you can't do Joomla anymore, you have to learn something new, you have 6 months before you stop, I would learn to do apps for devices. Simply for, and this is kind of funny, but simply, first of all, you got to provide for your family, you got to eat and stuff like that. So if you can have an app that you can make a living from, if it's really popular, you only have to, if you're making $1 per download, you only need to have 50,000 downloads in a year. That's a pretty good start. Years ago, there's a guy that developed the fart app, right? So it had this fart, and you could have all kinds of different fart sounds, and I think it was downloaded like 65,000 times or something like that. And everyone was saying to me, like, oh, that's, they use that as an example, like, oh, that's, what good is that doing? And yeah, so my aspiration in life is not to develop a fart app for people to download and make money from. But I did point out to them, I said, look, he's downloaded that. That's been downloaded 65,000 times. Maybe it took him a couple of days to do that project. Now he's got his year's income. Now he can do something noble because he's got his money in the bank, right? So
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
So I wouldn't say that of every kind of frivolous app that's out there, but I have had ideas for apps. I thought, oh, that would be really great. Something that's related to the news. I thought, oh, that would be something that people would download and maybe see. But in a practical way, like the church that we go to, they have an app that points to their website. It's not a Joomla website, but so they just tell people, you can get this information from the website or install our app. And that's super handy because for you and me as old guys, we're not, it's like I'll bring up a web page on my phone. I don't think, oh, let me get the app for that business and get their latest information. I want to go to their website. But there's a lot of people younger than us that think differently, and they're just like want to get their information. Like my daughter discovered, because I would talk to them about some current events here in Canada, and they were surprised, or they hadn't heard anything about it until a couple of days before it being a big thing, like the fire in Hawaii, because in Canada, Facebook is blocking news content, and they were getting all their news from Facebook. So they suddenly didn't know things that were happening, that were going on. So that's why, anyway, so I think apps would be good. So yeah, I think that would be, I'm hoping that's a solution that he's got. That would be really good.
Yeah, I
Good
think
to add as a package for clients too.
yeah, the app side, I have actually played around and I've used App Inventor to design a few apps. Now, I know it's very kind of simplistic, and there's a lot of these websites out there that are no code apps, app design, where you go to the website. Again, they have the perpetual licensing, and you have to sign up and do your $20 a month or $30 a month. And depending on which package you go for, it depends on how many pages and what you can do. And again, I'm not a programmer. You can, if you're into programming, you can download Android Studio and you can learn the coding from scratch. But I think App Inventor, for me, I've used it to design just very basic apps, nothing advanced, but cosmetically they looked okay, and they worked, and they were fine. I think I made one also years ago for my son where he had sound effects of one horror movie thing that he liked, a cartoon thing, and he'd press the button and it'd go off, simple things like that App Inventor can do. The no code apps, I do, again, like you, I have a few ideas for apps and things that I think would be of interest. Now, you got me thinking there, because if that guy developed an app, and even if you only got 50,000 people downloading it and you only charge $1, I mean, that's $50,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
do the maths. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not saying I'd go and design the Fire app, but that makes me think that, if I was to design even a basic app and put it up, and it was only for €1, and I sold 10,000, those 10,000 downloads, hey, that's money in the bank, So
Yeah.
it got me thinking.
And I think like Apple or Google Play, it's like a third or whatever. But yeah, as far as the multiplying thing of it, I mean, because in many ways apps are like chocolate bars. Someone sees something, oh, I'll play that game for a little while. Oh, I want to have some better weapons. Okay, well, I'll pay. I'll pay for a little bit, and pay for a bit more, and then they stop playing, and you've made a couple of dollars, and they've moved on. I think too, you see this in the Joomla extension directory, because every now and then at the end of the live stream, I'll say, hey, let's look and see what the newest extensions are that are being released for Joomla. And if in Joomla 4 you go to the install from web tab, you can filter for newest, and so you kind of look. And every now and then, a new slideshow will show up, or all right, so there's lots of slideshows for Joomla, and one might say, really, do we need another slideshow for Joomla? Right, we got plenty. But having said that, maybe there's someone who's just excited about learning, and they've learned how to make a slideshow, they've learned how to make a module or an extension, a component, and that's what they've done, and they're going to try and sell it. And from that knowledge that they've learned, then they'll try something else. And maybe if they get a few sales, or they've got, how they promote themselves, or they start to offer a suite of things, more people sign up. And eventually, you end up, what started out as a hobby or an interest ends up being a company, and you learn things along the way. Most of the stuff, well, not most, but a lot of the extensions that Peter Van Westen from Regular Labs has are things that he built because he wanted them for himself. And it just turned out that the stuff he wanted for himself was the stuff that a lot of us wanted. And yeah,
But
definitely.
necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
I actually did this. I mean, this is completely away from web design, but I actually did it a couple of weeks ago, that I wanted a miniature table saw that was powered by a DeWalt battery, because
Okay.
I was at a location of an elderly neighbor who needed some help, and she might have needed me to do some work, but there was no power sockets anywhere around. And I would have needed to cut some small pieces of wood, but I couldn't, I didn't want to drag a big table saw. My table saw is too big. So I went on the internet and I searched for table saws, and they were out there and miniature ones, but they were all powered ones. They weren't powered by a battery. So I went and made it. So
Okay.
if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll actually see the basics of the actual miniature table saw that's powered by a DeWalt battery, right?
Oh, wow.
So again, necessity is the mother of invention, and
Yeah.
I like doing that away from IT. I like making things, one-off things, and stuff like that. Anyway, next
And that,
question.
and that's what I've said said to people on my channel before. Hey, if you know how to do something in Joomla, then don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And if someone has a hairdressing studio in their basement and they need a website, and you know how to build them a website and charge them a bit of money, right? And if they want more things, then you learn from more things, or else they end up going to someone else. But Frank Kern said that in order to be a consultant, you just have to know something that someone else doesn't know,
That's it.
and
Knowledge again.
then you can help them. The trick is to not oversell yourself,
Hmm.
because if you say, "Oh, I can do this, that," and then you don't know how to do it, that's fine. Just be honest about what you know and what you think you could do, and yeah, give it a try. Make a little bit of money on the side
Funny,
if you can.
I heard it differently. When I was 17, I worked in an advertising agency, and I was speaking to the managing director of the agency. And I remember him saying to me, he said, when you go into a customer, he said, never say you can't do it. He said, you go in and you tell them you can do it. And when you leave and you realize you can't do it, he said, hire somebody who can and put your fee on top and then go back. But never
Yeah.
say you can't do it. Now, that's a different business approach if you have the resources around you to do it. But if it's only you at the end of the day, then obviously you don't want to overcommit.
Yeah. I have told people, I said, well, I don't know. I might be able to do that, but if I can't, I'll help you find someone who can. Although I did years and years ago have someone contact me, and they said they wanted to have PowerPoint presentations that were only accessible if someone had bought a membership. And so I went and met with them, and I figured there must be a way to do that in Joomla because it's got the membership thing built in and that. And I said, well, I should be able to do that. That should be possible. And so I remember walking out and getting in my car to drive away from that meeting, and I was thinking like, I wonder if I'm going to be able to do this. And but I looked, and I found another system and we're talking like 2000 and this is 13, like 2010 or 11. I found a place that it would allow you to show PowerPoint presentations online. And I just put it on Joomla behind a membership thing, and it worked. And I had that client for 11 years and did a lot of work for them on a lot of things. So, but that was, had it turned out that I couldn't have done it, then I would not have had that client for 11 years. But
Yeah, no, well done. Right, another question. I have two more questions that we can chat about. Joomla migration. And
love it. Love
it's a,
Joomla migration.
it's a big subject, right? And I have recently, well, 2 years ago, I moved my hosting from an old hosting package to a new hosting package. And I had to move all my sites over using Akava backup, right? But it's still a hell of a job to do that, right? So that's more of, I was migrating the services as opposed to upgrading from 3 to 4. And my question was, is there an easier way using the core to do this? Because what I normally do, because Joomla is not my business. It's a hobby for me, right? For you, it's a business. For me, it's a hobby. And I have a few websites and, local community website and stuff like that. And for me, maybe it's a habit from years ago being in IT, but I prefer to do a clean install and then just take the time to copy everything over, like the articles and stuff like that, rather than try and do the upgrade. Because having been in IT and having seen migrations of software from years ago and updates and stuff like that, nothing got to do with Joomla, just general software updates. You know, when you say we've got an upgrade of your software and you do an upgrade and it crashes and all that kind of stuff, I've had loads of problems. So maybe something from the past, my past IT career, stops me from doing upgrades or migrations, but I do a clean install. Now, I know if I've only a small site and I don't have much on it, it's not too much of a big deal. But if you've got a big Joomla site with loads of information on it, then obviously the migration, you'd have to go down the migration route. But that's just kind of my approach on it. But I know that you're using plugins. Stage, I think, is one of them that you used on your site. Was a Stage where you can actually practice the migration, and then if that works, then you can do it. Again, these are all additions and costly add-on. Well, not costly, but you have to pay for them. It's not part of core. So what's your take on it?
Well, I mean, so you mentioned about changing hosts. The easiest way to move a Joomla site is with a Kiva backup from one host to another. That said, if you're moving from one host to another and they're both cPanel hosts, you can download your account and upload it, or it can be it can be transferred, and everything is as it was before. As far as migration goes, yeah, it really comes down to what you're able to do. What you're comfortable with doing. So you mentioned about your IT background and some things being left over from previous versions when you migrate. Yeah, and that stuff gets left over because it doesn't get dealt with, doesn't get removed at that time as something. So the idea that just clicking and going from migrating from one version to another and everything will take care of that I don't think that exists anywhere, especially in open source. Whether it would be Joomla or if you did something like that with WordPress, and WordPress doesn't do migrations, they just keep hanging on to the same stuff. And so, I mean, there's some things that WordPress, I guess, isn't introduced into because it would be breaking, right? And so they try to keep things consistent and not requiring migrating. But there's just no way to build a script that would be exhaustive of everything that people might have installed on their site to watch out for. Now, I'm getting pretty good at looking at the extension manager on people's sites and seeing, oh yeah, that doesn't work. That's available for 4. This needs to be done, because I've been doing a lot of them as I do support for Migrate Me 4 and Stage It. Migrate Me 4 creates a test area where you can test your migration, and if it's broken, you go back and fix what you need to do in your Joomla 3 site, and then you run another test migration, and it's easy. You could make copies of your site over and over again, but this just works really. It scratches the itch for people that don't want to spend all day doing that. So I think for what I have noticed on a lot of the sites I'm migrating, before migrating Joomla 3 to Joomla 4, go into the Discover feature and see if anything is discovered. So basically, the Discover in Joomla 3, 4, and 5, it looks for files it looks for extensions, plugins, things on that. The files are in your Joomla install, but they're not registered in your database. And so then when you see them, when it sees those things, Discover gives you the option to install. Now you can, so if you had something left over from 2.5 that you hadn't cleaned up when you went from 2.5 to 3, then you would, if you installed that, you might break your Joomla 3 site. So you should do, I would play around on a test copy, and that's what Stage It does nicely. It creates a testing staging area for your live site, so you can test things. And depending on how active your live site is, you can push those changes to live, and then the changes are there on your live site, or you can just repeat the steps on your live site because they work well. But anyways, look to see if there's anything that needs to be discovered, that can be discovered. And if it is discovered, either install it or find out all the places where those files are and delete them. And then they're gone, and then they're not going to carry forward for a migration. That's the time to do that. The other thing is database, the database tool. Try running the fix on that if there's something to be fixed in your Joomla 3 site, because that catches things up and you won't move that over. So that's a big step to keep things from carrying over. Yeah, it's funny how long old stuff can just be hanging out there, and it doesn't show up in the components list because it's not a component. So when you're doing components and ACY mailing or JCE, that's what's all installed. But there can be some old stuff lurking around, but so if you're aware of that and just take care of it, then it's it's the same rewarding of a house cleaning as if you just do a fresh install of Joomla 4 and rebuild your site on 3. And if you only have 4 or 5 pages, then you could just kind of do that. You have to recreate your menu structure. You have to try to preserve your URLs, and that's one way to do it. Or else the reward of cleaning up an existing site and then migrating it, that's enjoyable. Enjoyable as well. It really comes down to, someone the other day contacted me, and they had done the migration from 3 to 4. I think they thought it was just like a one-click thing. So they ran the migration on their live site without checking things. It did not work. They restored a backup that they had done on their server, and the backup that was restored did not empty out the folder where Joomla was installed. It just replaced whatever files were there and left the other ones there. So they actually had Joomla 3 and Joomla 4 in there together, and and so then they were really stuck. So they've been trying to get help for 2 weeks from their host and different people, and finally I guess they called me from seeing me in the channel. So I was able to help them, and then they said, "What should I do with my site now?" I said, "Well, if you're going to migrate the site yourself," I was about to tell them about Migrate Me 4, and she says, "No." She says, "I've learned my lesson. I'm staying away from that. I'm not touching that. I do not want to go through this again." So for her particular level of she was running a travel agency, right? So she's not, I think sometimes some people in the Joomla community forget this, that not everyone out there is passionate about Joomla. They're passionate about having a website that works so they can put the latest trip that they're selling on there and get on with their lives. And so, so what I guess the big picture is for migrating, if it just really comes down to, and how you do it, what your skill is, how much money you've got or don't have, how much time you have or don't have, and just doing the best that you can as far as what you're comfortable with. And if you run it, just have good backups. Just have good back. It was a backup that saved her, because what I did was I went in and I went on her server with her hosting. She was a SiteGround. She had a month of backups, and her one good backup that she had taken before trying things was slowly get bumped out of the rotation. But I just emptied out her public HTML folder, ran the restore again, and then the thing worked. So I just knew what to try to do. It wasn't anything super fancy, but she had the backup. She had a good backup, and that was all made all the difference to fixing whatever had broken.
Well, the knowledge, again, we keep referring to the knowledge, which is very important. And a quick real life situation which happened years ago for me and my mother. We had an issue with the central heating system, and the central heating engineer was called out, and my mother followed the engineer out, and he looked at the motor, and he was looking around it, and he bent down and picked up a screwdriver, and he put it in, and he just turned the screw, and he said, €25, please. And my mother said, I could have done that. He said, yes, you could. He said, but you had to know what screw to turn.
Yeah.
So that comes down to having the knowledge of what to do. And that's why you get hired, because people don't have the knowledge. The last thing on the list, something that you alluded to, was regarding extensions. Now, when I do a Joomla site, less is more for me. I try and keep the extensions I put on the site to a minimum, because the principle, keep it simple, stupid. When I got into IT in the early days, when I was a young chap, I loved all this kind of technology. But I realized very quickly, not only was I running around like a bee, flying around trying to fix things that were breaking, it was taking up a lot of my time. And I just felt, hang on a minute, I'm going to have to keep it simple and remove a lot of this fancy IT stuff that doesn't have to be there. Maybe it's more of an ego thing rather than, and hey, look at me, look how techy I am, look at all the tools I have. So I stripped everything back and kept it to my bare minimum, which meant I had more time to do support and to take care of issues and problems, and things ran better. So my approach to Joomla, right or wrong, again, it just depends on what your client wants or what I want to do for our website. But basically, I try and keep the extensions down to a minimum, because that means there's less chance of incompatibility, any issues, any conflicts, etc., etc. And there is stuff that you can do from a cosmetic point of view and a functional point of view that you can use. And you did it actually on one of your videos, which you were using the Bootstrap coding from Get Bootstrap, I think, on the website. And I don't know whether you're using J4 or J5, but you were showing on your tutorial that, you can color stuff and you put alerts in and you can do funky boxes and cards and stuff like that. And for me, if that's part of the Bootstrap and Joomla, then, and that's free, then why not use it?
Yeah. So yeah, that was a live stream I did. I playing around with Bootstrap. And so I was just learning. I actually asked a guy comment and complain about how disorganized the video was. And I explained to him, I said, yeah, it was disorganized. I mean, it literally, the Watch Me Work live stream is literally watching me work. I mean, I get people on that I interview or they're showing something, but oftentimes it's just me. I mean, the whole live stream started because I wanted to be consistent about adding content to my YouTube channel. And I actually started that one out on Twitch, and then I would put the replay on YouTube. I just wanted to be consistent. And so I just started something, so I figured, okay, I'll go on and work on things. We'll hang out and talk with people. So every now and then someone stumbles on, they're expecting something really good. And they see the topic and they go 2 hours. I'm not watching 2 hours just to learn that. And I say to them, well, yeah, I look at it at the beginning, then we hang out. But yes, there's stuff built into Bootstrap, and so you don't need to have extensions. So if you want to pop up and the code, you can put the code in for the pop-up. If you want to have a warning box, there's a warning box thing, or a button, or stuff like that that's included in Bootstrap. Oftentimes, the extensions that you're using are a quick way to put those things in. Oh, I want a warning box here, so you click warning box. You put in your little codes for what goes in, and it interacts, and it's just like in the same way that remember back in WordPerfect days, you had to type in the codes. Or you wanted something in a capital, you type the code and then it capitalized, and you had to know all of the codes. And then Microsoft Office came along. It's like, look, just select that, click a button, and it's bold. You don't have to no more buying these big, huge templates of shortcuts that wrap around your keyboard so you can see what to do. So that's what the extensions are doing in some of those extensions are doing in Joomla. It's like, hey, you don't have to remember all this Bootstrap code and do all this. Just click this button and we'll put it in there for you. And so now myself, I like that. Give me a button to click on so I can get on with it, because I just don't have the brain bandwidth anymore to learn all of those codes or have them stored away. Maybe I do have the brain bandwidth, but I just don't, it's just too fiddly for me. So yeah, there is a Joomla core cult. And so I think using the Joomla core is great and should be the first thing that we try to do. If it's in the core, that's great. But there's things that I don't know how to do. I don't want to learn how to do, and that's why I use a template builder designer. There's instead of learning how to customize the core. Now, is it going to happen that maybe when Joomla 14 comes out that template builder is no longer working anymore, or a page builder? I like a page builder CK. If that's no longer working, I have to recreate all the pages. Yeah, okay, that might happen. And so, but for some specialty pages, if I want to have an accordion or a drop down, I'll use Page Builder CK instead of doing the bootstrap stuff and putting all the things in and being satisfied in that, because that's just not my thing. And so yeah, and there are some people, I see this in forums. Someone says, I saw this a couple of years ago. Oh, I need a template for a bakery. I think it was a bakery or something. And someone says, why don't you build it yourself? Well, that is not what the person's asking for. They have a bakery. They want to have a template that will look like it. What they need to be told is like, hey, here's a good system. Here's a good company that you can use their templates, and it'll become a bakery site when you put bakery pictures on it, right? And just find something general. So sometimes the Joomla core cult, not everyone who is really super excited about the core is in the core cult, but there are some people that I think suggest using the core as a way of them feeling good about themselves, because they tell someone who doesn't know how to do something indirectly that they know how to do it. So yeah, the less that you add to your Joomla site, the better you are going forward. With compatibility with things. And I've been burned by being really supportive of things that then suddenly we're like, oh yeah, we're not doing that for Joomla 4. And it's like, oh my goodness, that sucks. But so yeah, don't just be willy-nilly about everything. But if there's something that you want to do and it adds a feature and you don't know how to do it, or you don't want to learn how to do it, and it costs you $20 bucks, $20 or whatever for a year, and it's in and it's done and you move on, then that's great. A tool that I use on my videos is Audiate. So I use Camtasia for my videos. And after I do a recording of my video and I go to edit it, I can right click on the audio track and open it in Audiate. And Audiate listens and transcribes it. Doesn't do a great job, but I can then go down, and if there's a spot where I made a mistake and start it over, all I have to do is select out the words that I don't want, cut them, and when it's all done, it goes back into Camtasia, and all my jump cuts are there. So I don't have to watch the video and make the jump cuts. I just take out the words I don't want, or the sentences that I duplicated and stumble, and it's there. It's $400 a year, and for that software. I bought it because it saves me time, and it lets me use my time to do other things. And I think that's the beauty of Joomla and extensions. Even if maybe you could take a day and learn to do something in the core, or you could change things around. But not everybody has the time for that, or the desire, or the aptitude, or whatnot. They want to get on with selling their courses. They want to get on with getting their orders out. They want to get on. They've got social media posts to do, or I want to go out and see if the sun still shines in the sky. I mean,
time is money.
So for that, it's great to have it. I guess the other thing too is that I'm at the point now, after all these years, as many people are, I know who the developers are that have the really good stuff, and who are really responsive and offer good support. Every now and then I miss, you make a wrong decision about, or a wrong guess about who's going to be around for a long time. But overall it's there. And I noticed too, when we get looking in those times when I've looked at new extensions at the end of a live stream, I look and say, oh, here's a new extension from, I don't think we've ever looked at that name. or that company. I go to their website and they've got like 40 extensions and templates and stuff. Never heard of them before.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that is that they have they have a family of extensions, and there's comments about people loving their stuff, so they kind of get used to how things work. And so by one developer, one company, and then you can start to use a lot of things with a great bit of flow. And so even though you might have a lot of extensions, they're all working together. You know how to use them. It's helping with your workflow. Yes, if they go out of business, you're stuck. But there's businesses come and go.
I'd say this thing about it as well, that not all developers use the Joomla extensions system, because you will find developers who do their own extensions, but they're not on the Joomla system. So just because you can't find it under the Joomla extensions doesn't mean it's not out there. Not everybody's on that extension list.
Yeah. The requirements to be in the Joomla extension directory. So, for instance, there are no Joomla extensions on there that are software as a service, which is different than open source, and vaguely different than open source. They're just things that you buy a membership for. I mean, that's the thing. You're not buying the software, you're buying the membership. But if there's some Joomla stuff where you are paying for the software or paying monthly, and I can't express it fully, but then you're not allowed to be on the JED. But there are extensions out there that the people are doing, and yeah, that you might not find from there.
And funny enough, a component creator, which I mentioned earlier, is a SaaS.
Yeah.
So they're not on the JED.
Yeah.
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 But I don't know whether they used to be, but because I looked at it today, and I looked at one of the instructional videos for it, and the idea is that you sign up to their website. This is my understanding anyway. And you develop the component on their website, and then you zip it up, and then you install it on your Joomla site, and then you take it from there. So their SaaS service obviously wouldn't be on the JED. But look, we've got to that time. It's been a fantastic chatting to you, Tim, and talking about all things Joomla, because I have other things that I do away from Joomla. Sometimes it's nice to get away from that and just talk techie and talk about Joomla, talk about websites, and not talk about other things. So it's really enjoyable talking to you and just catching up, and we'll have to do a part 3. Hopefully it won't be another year. Hopefully we'll do it a bit soon. I know you're very busy, but before... Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, I enjoy this. I'd be happy to talk again. I'm really happy that I'm not going to have 2 hours of video to edit and all the stuff that I normally have to do. I like talking about it too. And I'm sure we all have someone in our life that's happy if we talk to someone else about Joomla instead of talking to them again about it.
Well, if my wife says to me, I need to get sleep, will you talk to me about Joomla? She goes to sleep very quickly. So before I let you go, Tim, give out your details about where people can find you. And again, plug your tutorials, because they are very good. You do a great job with them.
Yeah, so the channel is youtube.com/basic.
Oh, your audio's gone.
Is it?
Oh, it's back again.
Oh, all right. There you go. Yeah, so the YouTube channel is youtube.com/basic Joomla. My email address is tim@cybersalt.com, cybersalt.com. And cybersalt.com is my webpage. You can find me through that as well. So
brilliant stuff, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning in and listening to this show. Hopefully you'll like and subscribe and send this around to other Joomla people. I am trying to sort out a group for Joomla people in Ireland. I'm hoping Facebook will get back to me. There is a group on there, I mentioned it to Tim earlier, called Joomla Ireland, that hasn't been used since probably 2012, and I'm asking Facebook if we can take over that, so we can actually start setting up a Joomla Ireland support group for people who want to use Joomla or are fans of Joomla, and take it from there. I don't know if they'll have a Joomla day. Like I know you said you went to your one over in the States. Whether they're going to have it in Ireland at some point, it'd be great if they did. I'd like to go and attend that. That'd be fantastic. But a big thank you to everybody tuning in. I hope you liked the interview, and hopefully we'll do a part 3 sometime in the next few months. Maybe we'll see how we go. Depends on how busy Tim is. But take care and thanks again. Bye bye.